Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak coming to you live from Ontario of Canada. As your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach, it has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from the mental prison you find yourself in and build a life, a business, and or a career that you are obsessed with. And today, on today's story time with myself, Yana Kasperczak, that I do live on my public profile, which is obviously Yana Kasperczak. I wanted to talk about the story of all of us humans that is the biggest internal battle that I have been battling myself, and every single human being has been battling it within themselves throughout the human existence. And that is the battle between the ego and the soul. The balance between time is limited versus I'm eternal. Because the ego knows this body ain't gonna live forever. So let's get shit done. Let's get cracking. Let's get doing. You're here for a limited time. You gotta make the best out of that. While the soul says, what's the rush? I am eternal. I am here forever. I cannot be destroyed. I can only transfer. So when my physical body is done, me as the soul, I am just going to transfer into a different existence. So this is why today the topic that I wanted to talk about is balancing ego and soul, which is the key to living with purpose and freedom. I wrote it down on a little piece of paper. So I remember, because the ego does not want to forget, whereas the soul, well, these are just temporary things. Whether you remember or don't remember this title, it doesn't really matter. Right? You see how that internal battle can happen so quickly for all of us, and it happens behind closed doors. That's how I would describe it. It happens in the back of your mind where you're not even part of that conversation, of that dialogue, and it happens in a split second where you're calm and peaceful and everything is great and amazing, to panic. You tap into your cortisol, adrenaline, and you're maybe in this fight or flight or freeze state, and you might find yourself either doing and doing and doing, or sabotage your doing, procrastinating, avoiding, and or you find yourself not doing and just being and being peaceful, and then back into the doing part, or wanting to do and not able to get things done. So because the internal dialogue is yelling or screaming at you, and you feel all sorts of way, and you're being pulled in every possible direction, that just feels way too much, and it's like a literal chaos within you. So the ego and the soul, the yin and yang, the doing and being, the masculine and the feminine, we can call it all these different ways, all these different words, but at the end, no matter what we call it and label it, it comes down to the balance between our light and dark, between our positive and negative. We cannot have one without the other. We cannot. If you have just the positive, then you're not in the physical body, then you're not a human being. You're not fully living. If you have just a negative, then you're also not fully living. You're not fully here. But when you find the balance between the two, whatever it is for you, it's going to be a little different for everyone. You you really start to feel free and alive and fulfilled and satisfied and curious and adventurous and wise and true to yourself. Another way of calling or referring to the ego and the soul is narcissist and an empath. Everyone has them within themselves. Everyone has a little narcissist in them. These are the lower energy levels where you are either being the victim or you're in a state where you believe you need to fight for yourself or fight for everything that is yours or you believe is rightfully yours. And as well as, rationalizing, making sense of certain things just so you can feel like you are winning and that you're getting through things, whereas in reality, you're not getting through things, you're walking around them. You're getting around whatever it is that you are meant to be going through. So here's how the ego shows up, because it's important to start to understand how the ego is showing up, how the soul is showing up. And I'm not saying these things to say ego bad, don't do, narcissist bad, don't do. All of these are parts of every human being, of our existence. As I continue to remind you, it is all about balance. Balance for you. Meaning that in some instances, some experiences, some cases, you must tap into the ego and use the ego versus you being used. So awareness is what's gonna make the difference between you using that energetic version of you, that energy, that space, that energy level, versus being used by it. And at the same time, finding the balance and not just spending time in the clouds where the soul would love to spend the time and being and chilling and feeling and sensing, which we'll get into. Because when you start to understand how the ego is showing up, how the soul is showing up, you can find yourself in the middle of the two and find ways how you can tap in to the one that you need right now to bring in the balance into your present moment or present day and present self. And I mean, judgment is going to be part of that, which, as you can probably imagine, that's part of the soul where there is no judgment, and the ego, that's heavy judgment. So finding that fine line that's for you and dancing on the line. Sometimes you'll go dance on this side a little more, sometimes on this side. And if you messed up, if you feel like you did something wrong or did someone wrong, then own up to it. Own up to it. And if you're apologizing, don't just don't just leave it at words. Follow through and essentially prove that you are apologetic. Sometimes you might not even need to apologize, but just apologize with action. So with the ego shows up, it's fear-based. It's the fear-based thinking and being or even speaking. That's how the ego shows up. The ego often operates out of fear, right? And especially if we're talking about the lower energy levels, level 1 and 2, this is where that fear is. It is rooted in level 1 and 2. And it focuses on survival, on self-preservation and comparison. And really, it comes down to control. Wanting to control, needing to have that control, level 2, One would be when you feel out of control and you need to have control and regain control, but right now you're in this mode that I refer to as self-loathing mode, aka the victim. That used to be my go-to, and honestly, like I said, we either use these energy levels or they use us, and sometimes they're using us, and once we become aware, we can switch and say, okay, what's going on, what's happening, check, and go through the process of getting out of that after you've learned. So for me, we all gotta choose, right? Whether we're choosing consciously or our subconscious chooses for us, our go-to energy level when we are off and not our best self, when we're under stress, under pressure, when things are not going our way, it's going to be usually one of the three. Usually it's one of the two, victim or fighter. Or the third one is you're really just rationalizing things, but you're not really dealing with the root cause, with the issue, the problem, and you're not really learning the lesson. You're just brushing it off, and it's similar to you, okay, I get it, I understand it, I'll, put it under the carpet and I'll deal with it. Never. So the ego wants to be in control. And sometimes it might sound like, just to give you one example, is, what if I fail? What will they think of me? What if I go live, talk about the ego and the soul, and someone who might not get it or gets it and decides to ridicule me, right? These are real fears of many people. This is why most people won't even go live, won't even, forget going live, they won't even speak up in their own friend circle, in their own family circle, in their own relationship with the person that they have chosen as a partner for the rest of their life. That's coming from the ego and the soul, because the ego also does not want to feel pain, which also means that you don't want to say, doesn't like confrontation, right? You don't want to say something that might hurt or offend someone in one way or another, or in some unknown ways, and hurt someone else, because them hurting, especially those of you who are empaths, you know what I'm talking about. When you are hurting someone, whether it's usually unintentional, and then you become aware of how you've caused pain to someone, you feel really bad. You feel guilty, you feel shamed, you feel embarrassed, you feel like a fraud, you like, I should have known better, why didn't I? You feel stupid. That's coming from the ego. Whereas the soul, your soul, knows that that's part of the human existence. And this attachment to I must feel good all the time is unrealistic. And there is beauty in feeling bad. There is a lot of magic in the human existence. Whether you feel bad, you feel good, it's the yin and yang. You have the ups and downs. You can't always have sunshine and rainbows. You gotta, in order for us to have a rainbow, there needs to be rain, and often very heavy rain, thunderstorms, storms, hurricanes. That's part of nature. What we see outside of us is what happens inside of us as well. It's just, it's not visible because it's in this enclosed case called meat suit, our bodies, and we don't see what we're going through. We don't see it ourselves. Other people definitely can't see it, but we're the closest to the storm, to the eye of the storm. And most people won't even speak about what they're going through or what they have gone through. Some people will, certain things they will never, ever, ever speak of. They'll take it to the grave for numerous reasons. While others learn to speak about everything and anything, but there will always be that little something that they will never speak of. I feel that to be true for everyone, and that part is the ego part that holds on to certain experiences that they feel like it's the wrong one to share for a variety of reasons. So the ego is fear-based thinking. It also seeks external validation. The ego craves recognition, validation, and approval. And often it measures its worth by achievements, by status, and by possessions. Acquiring materialistic things. The ego is part of the materialistic world. And we are living in a time where we're all being programmed to be consumers. And the younger the people are, the more programming they have received to become a perfect and ideal consumer. They know what they are doing to create a certain type of person and behavior, so they become a puppet of the system, so to speak. So I'll leave it at that. So that is where playing into the ego, giving into the ego, and feeding the ego, and helping the ego feel great and amazing, feeling like a win, and continue feeding that, and becomes really hungry, and it can become a really hungry and starving monster no matter how much you feed it. The ego also, it thrives on this concept of me versus them, me versus you type of thinking, creating division and creating competition. I'm better than you. I mean, how many of, I know you yourself might not recognize it or might not admit it, but how many of your friends or family members do you think are keeping someone around in their life that they believe and assume are doing not as good as them? And they're doing that, they're keeping that person around just so they can consciously or unconsciously feed this ego that they have within themselves, that I am better than you. And here's a list of reasons and things why. I've had friends like that. And I was that way as well until I became aware of it, and what became new and saw myself for who or how I was being, that program that has been given to me and fed to me since before I was born, the program that all of you have received as well. And I've been changing my ways more and more and more and more and more. And it's been about 8 years at this point. Whereas others are not aware of that, and therefore they're not doing anything about it. They're continuing to live that way. And sometimes they will see themselves in you and say that this is who you are, whereas the reality is that's who they truly are. We're each a mirror of each other, of ourselves. Now, also ego loves to overthink. It constantly analyzes, judges, and attaches itself to the outcomes. Sets a certain expectation. Most of it, remember, happens unconsciously until you become conscious of the program, of everything that makes up who you are today. Who you're being today does not mean who you're going to be later on, as long as you continue working on yourself. Everything comes down to you become aware of it. And once you're aware of it, once you know something, you can't unknow it. You can try, you can push it away, but it'll keep coming back to you. You'll keep nagging at you, it'll keep eating away at you. And then little by little, you'll choose to do something to rewrite that program. But remember, that program has been there for a long time. It's similar to like a virus that you gotta go and clean up that quote unquote computer time and time and time again until you cleaned up all of the old residue from that system and instill the new system, the new program within yourself. And that's how you become that version of yourself that you want to become. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of understanding, becoming aware, and work and consistent, going back and forth between the previous version of yourself to the previous current. And it's your way of thinking, your way of speaking, your communication, your values, your habits, your traits, your personality traits, a lot of what makes up you. And it's not everything, but it's a lot of the things that make up you and who you are and who you're being that you would be rewriting. So now the soul, the way that the soul shows up, it is pure love and it's intuition. The soul speaks in the whispers of calm, peace, love, trust, guiding you to align with your higher purpose, with your true, authentic self. It speaks from a place of that inner fulfillment, feeling whole and free and fulfilled, because the soul doesn't speak the language of validation, especially external validation. It finds joy in the truth, in authenticity, in connection, and in presence, in the present moment. There is a feeling of wholeness and unity that the soul knows we are all interconnected, that we are all one, and it expresses itself and it moves itself through life, through every moment, with compassion and with empathy. When you are expressing yourself through your soul, you tap into what you can express in words or in a word as flow. You tap into your flow and you catch yourself feeling and being and embracing the present moment, and you trust the journey. There is no judgment, there's no questioning, there's no opinions, because opinions are judgments. Questioning is in some ways also judgment as well. But as the soul that you are, this is where you trust the journey. You let go of control. You trust the process. You're fully here in the present moment. And the way that you find balance is, as I've been saying, it's pretty straightforward, and yet it is not a linear journey. It's becoming aware. You gotta become aware. Bring awareness to who you're being right now and identify, is it ego? Is it the soul? Are you good where you are? If not, what do you want to change? What do you want to do different? How do you want to approach it? And then doing it. Not just coming up with the idea and the plan, where this is where most people stop, but actually executing it. Actually doing what you say you're going to do. Keep that integrity to yourself, with yourself. The reason why you're hurting a lot is because you have been lying to yourself throughout most of your life. You said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. Time and time and time and time and time again throughout your life. And if you sit down and write a list of all the things and all the promises you've made to yourself and to each and every one of your friends, even if you said to your kid, I'll take you to the park today, and you didn't, that's going on your list. And all of these little things that you have accumulated throughout your whole entire life, now you feel the heaviness of them. And this is just one list. We all have an enormous amount of different lists that we accumulate, that we refer to and call baggage that we're carrying. And this is where some of you also find yourself having physical pain, shoulders, upper back, even lower back, depending how heavy your baggage is, neck pains, the back of your head pain, migraines as well. A lot of the pain that we have, it comes from the baggage that we carry, that we hold on, that we accumulate throughout our life, and never actually dealing with it. Why? Because no one taught you how. Nobody told you it was important. Nobody even knew that. Nobody was aware of it. There was no awareness of this part of the human existence that all of us humans have. And then at one point, that baggage becomes really freaking heavy and you can no longer carry it. All the stuff keeps falling out and spilling out, and you're like, what the fuck? I can't deal with it. It's too much. So, number one, awareness. Start noticing when the ego takes over and asking yourself, it's simple to just identify if the ego is here or it's coming from the soul. Ask yourself, my decision, the decision that I'm making right now, or whatever it is that I'm doing right now, which is also a decision. You choose to do something, you choose not to do something. I choose to let this cat be here, or I can choose to take this cat and put the cat down, right? So everything in our life, every single thing comes down to a choice. Conscious choice or unconscious choice. And the goal is to become more conscious, so that way you start to reprogram that default program that is no longer serving you, that is really, really freaking outdated, because you received it when you were young, when you didn't know what you know now, and it served you then, but now it's not serving you. Now it's holding you hostage in your mental body, in your mind, in your mental prison, and in your physical body, and perhaps even in your life, when you're not getting to where you want to get to, when you're actually not living the life that you fantasized about, the reason why you fantasize, because you know it's a possibility, and you fantasize about this possibility of what your adult life was supposed to be like, but yet it's still not here. And it's not going to be here until you start getting your shit together and working on that default program that you've received throughout your life, that, as you can imagine, it's not just gonna rewrite itself overnight, because it wasn't here and given to you overnight. This is not the actual Matrix movie, but similar to it, right? So find that balance and ask yourself, the decision that you're making right now, whatever it is that you're choosing to do or not to do, is it rooted in fear or love? Simple, right? Is it fear-based or love? If it's fear, it's the ego. Love, it's the soul. Now, at the same time, you don't want to be living your life just strictly through the soul, because what you're also doing is you're avoiding getting your shit together and living the life that you actually want to live. If this was a Sims game, and you're a character in the Sims game, is this how you'll be playing that Sims game? Chances are no. So how would you be playing that Sims game? What would be different? This is your starting point. You've been given this game with everything that is under the umbrella that you refer to as life. Now this is your game. What are you going to do from this point on? Anything goes. And then real life, same thing. Anything goes. Some things might take a little time, a minute or two, to acquire, to get to that point, to get to the version of yourself. Even in Sims game, if you want your Sim to get a different job or career, you gotta send them to school. They gotta learn things. It's just you can speed things up in that game, where in reality, you can speed things up in a different way. So it ain't over until it's over, is what I'm saying. Become aware of where you are, how you're showing up. Is it from the ego? Is it from love? Find the balance between to help you get to that destination that you want to get to, that you desire to get to, that feels like home to you, for you. Having healthy practices in your life are going to be a game changer as well. Becoming mindful in the moment when you're feeling a certain way that does not feel good, pause and check yourself. Stop what you're doing. Check in with yourself, because this is, more often than not, that's your inner child screaming and crying because it's trapped within you. It's been ignored, it's been suppressed, it's been silenced throughout many years, and now it's reaching out to you in the only way that it knows how. And that is through negative feelings and emotions. Something is happening within you. Lean into that. Check in. Be present in the present moment. Practice your mindfulness. Breathe. Often you might find, scan your body. What part of your body is tense right now? What part of your body are you clenching right now? Maybe you're not even breathing, holding your breath. How can you expect not to feel anxious or a panic attack, come on, if you're holding your breath? This is what happens when you hold your breath, when you're not breathing properly, calmly, and steady. Most of us have a sitting job, which means that your diaphragm is restricting you from taking a full breath in and sending that breath throughout your whole entire body. So check in with yourself and with your body, see what's up, and address it. Don't ignore it, don't avoid it, don't go around it. You can't go around what you're meant to go through. And this is where now in your life you're feeling a lot of negativity, and that's because you have been playing this game of I'll deal with it later, I'll deal with it later, and going around things, not actually dealing with them. And now it's time to play catch up. Now it's time to deal with all those things that you said I'll deal with it later. Later is now. Now is the time. So practicing meditation is going to be helpful. Journaling, breath work, having, most of us also overstimulated, meaning get comfortable in the silence. Most people are not comfortable in the silence. And the younger a person is, I find that the more they struggle with silence itself, because they don't know what to do with it. That's why there's always something playing. Even if it's just music playing, it's still not silence. But sitting with silence, meaning sitting with yourself, and this is what scares many people to death almost. They would much rather die than sit with themselves in silence. They'll do anything to escape that. And that, to me, what I've learned through my journey is that's actually what we're meant to be doing more each day than distracting our mind with things that don't truly matter at the end of our life. They're just distractions in many different ways. And this is where you really get to hear yourself and get to know yourself. Another step to this would be awareness, and then being present in the present moment, so mindfulness. Another step would be, right now, you only have your perspective, your viewpoint, how you're seeing things, how you're interpreting things. Whatever is in front of you that you're going through or dealing with, you're limited to your own perception. Step away from your own perception and ask yourself, how would someone else who has a different perspective view this situation, this experience, this challenge, this problem? How would they view it? How would they talk about it? How would they understand it? So shifting it away from yourself, and you can thank the ego for trying to protect you because it's helping you to explain what's going on right now. But when you shift to seeing other ways of viewing it, you're seeing you see more opportunities, more possibilities for you as well. Because otherwise you're just limited to your own. And it feels limiting. Because when you have your own perspective, that's it. You can't see any other way. But when you start shifting it and it becomes a practice for you, okay, well, what's another way of looking at it? What's another way of explaining this? What's another way of understanding this? What's another way of interpreting it? And doing that. And I do this with my kids, actually. Sometimes they don't want to see or hear the other side. They just want me to agree and take their side, and that's it. But this is not who I am. This is not how I do things. And I feel like I would be failing my kids if I just agreed with them all the time. It's not to say that I don't agree with them. In many cases, I do. But my job as a parent, and on top of a parent, as a coach, is to help my kids see that there's more ways to look at a situation, or more ways to look at a person than just this one limited horse blinder type of a view. And if you're feeling a whole bunch of feelings and emotions, the negative ones, then take a breather. Calm yourself down, your nervous system down, because you're not going to see the other possibilities, the other ways of, the other perceptions, the other ways how you can view a personal situation. Your nervous system needs to be as calm as it can possibly be so you can see more. Otherwise, you're in this fight or flight and you cannot see things clearly, you cannot feel things clearly, and more often than not, you're going to make decisions and make choices that you might regret later. So shift those perspectives and see things that reflect trust, authenticity, honesty, and connection with, we are one. You and I, we are the same. How can I see me through you? How can I see this person through you as well? And trying on different shoes, figuratively speaking, in the way that you view, or your contact lenses that somebody else might be wearing. Then shifting to gratitude or checking with gratitude and comparison, because gratitude helps you to work through the ego. We don't want to spend too much time on the ego, and we also don't want to be spending too much time in the soul part. Finding that balance between the two, they can coexist, they can become BFFs. And gratitude helps to move from the ego focus, or the focus of the ego that usually comes from lack, that there's not enough, to the soul, which recognizes the abundance, that there's more than enough. And when we compare the two, comparing the ego and comparing the soul, it helps to humble the ego and soften the ego. And that's how we naturally start to build or reprogram that default program and build an internal balance where you're going to get to a point in your life where you're no longer need to be doing too much of this type of work and approach, where you're balancing the ego and the soul, the yin and yang, the narcissist and empath within you, the good, the bad, the good, the evil within you. So another last one is making sure that the actions that you are taking are with purpose. That you're not just doing something just for the sake of doing. That essentially you're not wasting your time for the sake of wasting your time, and checking in before making a choice. Does this align with my higher self, or with a version of myself that I'm working so hard to become? Am I reacting, or am I responding? Am I reacting from a place of fear, or am I responding from a place of love? So if you are feeling triggered and you want to react, instead of reacting, choose your higher self, the higher road, to pause and then respond. Or maybe you'll recognize that there's no response even needed. So therefore, you practice letting go and not holding on to it and not putting it into your baggage. Working through things as they come. Another way how I would explain it is, your life is kind of like an office job, where something comes to your desk and you are given a certain amount of time to complete this task. You got a sheet of paper, and now you decided, oh, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to do that maybe in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes go by, there's another sheet of paper. You're like, oh, I haven't done the first one. I'll do the first one in another 5 minutes. I'll do this one 5 minutes later. And then before you know it, you got a massive pile of these I'll do later papers on your desk. And now it's been years. And your desk is full of these piles of papers. I'm sure we've seen it in movies, whether it's comedy or not. You see a person just being covered all around with piles of papers that they've didn't get to because something else distracted them, or took their focus and attention away from this, what was meant to be done. Or maybe, and this is where a lot of this actually comes from as well, this piles of paper, is that you were never, this paper, this experience, this thing that you were given, that you went through, did not come with instructions. So you were never told what to do and how to do it. It's just, here it is, you figure it out. If you don't figure it out, take your time, no rush. And yet you take your time and you realize, well, shit, there is actually a rush on a lot of these things, because if I don't do it now, it might never actually get done. And that's not how I want to be living, or meant to be living my life. I'm meant to be going after every single thing and doing everything right away, without putting it off. So that's all I wanted to share for today. I am looking forward to hearing, what was your biggest takeaway? And what are you going to be doing? What action are you going to be taking with your takeaway from today's conversation? And those of you who hopped on a little bit later, hello ladies, watch the beginning so you get the whole entire conversation and understand what I'm talking about as well. Because everything is connected. Everything is, there's the beginning, there's the middle, there's the end. I feel like this is how it is with everything in life as well. So after you watch the whole entire video, let me know what your biggest takeaway is and what you're going to do with the takeaway. Otherwise, I just want to thank each and every one of you who was and is on here live with me, and those of you who will be watching the replay or rewatching the beginning and then throughout the end, as a replay as well. And those of you who are silent watchers as well. My goal is to share as much knowledge and wisdom that I can to help as many people as I can in all the ways that you are ready to be helped in, um, to really help you to get your shit together in your life, in your business, and a career, because I know the difference between surviving and thriving, between not wanting to live, and then being obsessed with everything that is life. And that is my dream and hope for each and every one of you, is to really become obsessed with everything that falls under the umbrella that you refer to as life. Even those bad days, even those days where you have low energy, low fuel, and maybe you know why, and maybe you don't know why, but everything is there for a reason. If you spend the time to become aware of why, everything becomes easier. So no matter where you are in your journey, just remember, your light helps to light up the whole entire world. And you might think or feel that it's not as bright, but it gets brighter and brighter and brighter each and every day that you choose yourself, you choose love, you choose healing, you choose to continue on your spiritual growth and your awakening journey each day at a time. Hey, Allison. Allison says, this was helpful. I like the idea of balancing the narcissist and empath within me. My takeaway will be trying to identify the source from ego and versus soul. This really pertains to a lot in my life right now. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad to hear that this is your takeaway, that trying to identify if it's the ego, if it's the soul, and then finding a healthy balance between the two that will help you to live a life that is fulfilling and aligning for you. Parts of that is also is what you are carrying, what you're doing or expecting to do. Is it yours or someone else's? Even when it comes to your values, understanding, is it your values or is it somebody else's? The way, even your habits, are these habits been given to you from someone else, or are they actually yours? Do you really want to be doing this? Do you really want to be experiencing this part of life and this part of yourself, or not? And it's like it really is a rabbit hole. Each and every one of us is a rabbit hole that is so worth exploring. Just think of Alice in the Wonderland. Look how different her life was after she went down that rabbit hole. So are you ready to go down your rabbit hole? That is your life, and come out on the other side knowing exactly who you are, why you are, what's your purpose, what fulfills you, what fuels you, what excites you, who you truly are, your authentic self, and not just a bunch of expectations that have been put upon you, on you, from everyone else throughout your whole entire life, right? So that's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you, everybody, once again. And until we see each other next week on Tuesday for another one of these story time with myself, or maybe we'll see each other tomorrow in our Heal the Unicorn podcast that we live stream into our Facebook group, Heal the Unicorn: Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. And until next time, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Allison. Allison said, I'm so glad I found this group. Thank you. You're welcome, and I'm glad that you're part of this amazing community of like-minded women who are on their journey of healing and spiritual growth. Until we see each other again, have an amazing rest of your day or week, and until next time.